When Elon Musk sat across from his son that evening, he had no inkling that this conversation would reshape his life forever. What began as a casual dinner with Donald Trump evolved into something far more profound, something deeply personal. For when X, his son, locked eyes with him and asked one simple question, it left Musk utterly speechless. As we go deeper on this incredible story, make sure to hit the subscribe button. The waves lazily lapped at the shore as the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting long haunting shadows across the expansive Mar-a-Lago estate. The fortress of power and wealth felt eerily quiet tonight. Inside, chandeliers cast a warm golden glow, their light bouncing off the sleek marble floors. The world outside hummed with scandals, speculation, and the relentless buzz of politics, but tonight none of it mattered. In a private lounge, far from the prying eyes of cameras and strategists, Donald Trump sat across from Elon Musk. What was supposed to be a closed-door meeting, a discussion about the future of AI, censorship, space exploration, maybe even the next election, had taken an unexpected turn. Two of the world's most unpredictable minds sat face to face, no filters, no interruptions, except for one. A boy, swinging his feet absent-mindedly against his chair, sat between them, Elon's young son, Xe, or simply X. The child, with his piercing blue eyes, carried the quiet intensity of his father, always calculating, always analyzing. He wasn't supposed to be there, but Musk had brought him along, an unpredictable move even for him. The boy had wanted to come and Musk had shrugged, figuring it might be interesting. Trump, never one to turn down an audience, had laughed, commenting that the kid had better taste than most politicians. Now they sat in an unlikely triangle, 3 generations, 3 legacies, and 3 futures. The conversation began as it often did: politics, the upcoming election, the economy. Musk delved into AI and automation, warning of civilization's precarious position, the point at which decisions must be made to avoid losing control forever. Trump, ever the deal-maker, leaned in, lowering his voice. So what's the move, Elon? You going to run for something, or are you just pulling strings from the sidelines? Musk gave a smirk. You know I prefer to build things. Trump gestured vaguely. That's what they said about me before 2016, followed by a chuckle and a sip of whiskey. The air between them wasn't tense, but thick with the weight of 2 men who had shaped the world in their own ways. Then, unexpectedly, the shift occurred, the moment neither of them anticipated. A small, clear voice broke through, quieter than theirs, but sharp in its simplicity. X tilted his head, locking eyes with Trump. "Mr. Trump," he asked, his voice unwavering, "are you afraid of being forgotten?" The room went still. Musk froze mid-sip, his eyes flicking to his son. Trump's expression stalled, just for a second, so brief that most wouldn't have noticed, but Musk did. Then, as expected, Trump laughed, that familiar laugh that blended amusement and performance. "Forgotten? Kid, I've got my name on buildings from here to Scotland. They'll be talking about me long after we're all gone." X didn't blink. "That's not what I mean." Trump leaned back slightly, a smirk playing at the edge of his lips. "Oh yeah? What do you mean then?" The boy spoke as if he'd rehearsed it 1,000 times, maybe he had. "I mean, when people talk about you 100 years from now, what will they really say? Will they just remember your name, or will they remember who you truly were?" The air in the room shifted, subtle, not dramatic, but profound. For the first time in their conversation, Trump didn't respond immediately. A flicker of something crossed his face, not fear, not anger, something deeper, reflection. For a man who had built his entire life on being larger than life, the question cut through everything. Would the world remember him for his victories, or for his controversies? Would they see him as a leader, a fighter, or just another name drowned in noise and debate? Musk stayed silent, his gaze fixed on Trump. He wanted to see how the former president would react. Trump, usually so quick with words, was now thinking, not performing, thinking. That was when Musk knew this conversation wasn't over. It had just begun. For a long moment, the only sound was the soft hum of the ocean outside, the waves rolling steadily against the shore, undisturbed by the weight of the question now hanging in the room. Trump, always in control, always quick-witted, was staring at the boy. Musk didn't intervene. He knew his son well. X wasn't asking to challenge Trump or provoke him. He asked because he genuinely wanted to know. He'd been thinking about this for a long time. Trump leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. His tone had changed, no longer the casual, jokey performance he wore for public appearances, but something more personal, more reflective. "I've built things," Trump said finally, his voice quieter now, less theatrical. "More than most men ever will. Towers, hotels, casinos, golf courses. Even a presidency. You name it. X nodded. And when those things are gone? Musk couldn't help but smirk. His son didn't waste time with small talk. Trump exhaled, his voice steady but resigned. They won't be gone. My name is on them. X tilted his head, unconvinced. But names fade. Musk saw it, the smallest flicker in Trump's eyes. He wasn't wrong. Time erodes everything. Buildings crumble, businesses change hands, even nations rewrite their histories. What last? Trump paused, tapping his fingers on the table. A rhythmic, thoughtful sound. Then, in a measured tone, he spoke. It's not just about what you build. It's about how you make people feel. Musk raised an eyebrow. That was unexpected. Trump continued, his voice softer now. You think people remember George Washington just because his name is on a dollar bill? No. They remember how he made them feel. They remember the fight, the leadership, the way he changed things. X listened intently, absorbing every word. So, what did you change? Another beat of silence. Musk's gaze flickered toward Trump, waiting for his answer. Trump exhaled through his nose. I woke people up. X furrowed his brow slightly. I made people realize that power isn't just for the elite, Trump said, his voice firming now. That they don't have to listen to some journalist or politician telling them what to think, that they can fight. Musk could tell this was the real answer, not just rhetoric but the core of how Trump saw himself. Trump leaned back slightly, studying X carefully. You ask if I'm afraid of being forgotten. I'm not. Because I know one thing. I made them listen. X sat quietly for a moment, thinking. Then, in the same calm, unshaken voice, he said, but being remembered isn't the same as being understood. Trump stilled. Musk saw it immediately, the rare moment when Trump wasn't sure if he was being challenged or if he was being given something to actually think about. The room felt heavier now, the conversation shifting from a passing discussion to something far more profound. Musk finally spoke. You changed things, he said, nodding slightly. But do you think they'll remember the right things? Trump narrowed his eyes, but there was no anger. If anything, there was deep consideration. The weight of that question wasn't just about Trump. It was about every leader who had ever tried to shape the world, every empire that had risen and fallen. What does history actually remember? What part of you does it keep? Trump exhaled, rubbing his fingers together. He glanced at Musk. You ever wonder about that? Musk shrugged. All the time. A smirk twitched at the corner of Trump's mouth. He gestured toward X. He gets it from you, doesn't he? Musk smiled faintly. No. He gets it from himself. Trump looked back at X. All right, kid. Since you're so full of questions, let me ask you one. X blinked but nodded. Trump steepled his fingers, leaning in. What do you think matters most? What's the thing that makes a man truly remembered? X thought for a long moment, then answered. What he said left both men in stunned silence. The ocean air carried the faint sound of waves crashing against the shore, and the candlelight flickered on the table, casting long shadows. Trump had asked the question, what makes a man truly remembered? And now, everyone was waiting for X's answer. The boy sat quietly for a moment, his fingers idly tracing the condensation on his glass. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't rushing. Finally, he looked up. It's not power, X said simply. Not money. Not even the fight. He tilted his head slightly, intrigued by his own thoughts. It's the way you change the people closest to you. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Musk let out a small chuckle, shaking his head. That's actually profound. Trump, however, wasn't smiling. He was studying the boy, his face unreadable. Explain. X leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. You talk about waking people up, about making them listen. That's big. But history isn't just made by big moments. It's made by small ones too. Trump narrowed his eyes. Go on. X took a breath. Most people don't remember the names of kings. They don't remember the exact words of speeches. They remember how those leaders changed their parents, their families. They remember what those people became because of the world they lived in. Trump exhaled sharply through his nose. X continued. You say people will remember you because you made them listen. But what if they remember the anger more than the message? What if they remember the fight but not why you fought? Musk leaned back slightly, impressed. Trump was silent for a long moment. Then, in a voice lower than before, he said, So, you think I failed? X shook his head. I think you changed the world. Pause. But I don't think you get to choose how history writes you. Trump's expression flickered. Musk could tell the words had hit somewhere deeper than Trump was willing to admit. Trump tapped his fingers against the table again, his signature thinking gesture. After a long moment he asked, "And what about your father?" X blinked. Trump gestured toward Musk. "You said people remember how a leader changes the people closest to them. So tell me, how did he change you?" Musk arched an eyebrow but remained silent. X glanced at his father, then back at Trump, and with complete honesty he answered, "He taught me that even the smartest man in the world can still be wrong." Musk smirked slightly. "I'm assuming that's a compliment?" X shrugged. "It means you're not afraid to fail. And that's why people believe in you." Trump exhaled, shaking his head with something between amusement and deep thought. "That's an interesting answer, kid." X nodded. "Because it's true." Another pause. Then Trump looked back at Musk. "You're raising a thinker," he muttered. Musk chuckled. "Wouldn't have it any other way." The conversation should have lightened, but it didn't. Something had shifted. The words still hung in the air. History doesn't always remember the reasons, just the impact. Trump suddenly turned serious again, leaning in. "So tell me, X, do you think you'll be remembered?" X held his gaze, his face calm. "I don't care if I am," he said. Trump arched an eyebrow. "Why?" X's answer came without hesitation. "Because the people I love will remember me. And that's enough." Silence. For the first time all evening, Trump had no immediate response. Musk folded his arms. "Now that's an answer." Trump exhaled slowly, rubbing his fingers together in thought. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he admitted something neither Musk nor X expected to hear. "I don't know if that's enough for me." Musk sat up slightly. X frowned. Trump looked away for just a second, as if considering whether he should have said that out loud, but the words were already there, raw, honest, vulnerable. Musk had known Trump for years, but this was different. And before anyone could say another word, Trump looked up, his eyes sharper now. "But I do know one thing," he said. Musk and X waited. Trump smirked slightly. "I like you, kid." X smiled faintly. "I know." Musk chuckled. "Took you long enough to admit it." Trump leaned back, shaking his head. And for the first time that night he looked at the ocean, not the past. The waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, filling the silence that had fallen over the table. The air smelled of salt and night, thick with something unspoken. For the first time, Trump didn't have an answer. Musk noticed it immediately. He had seen Trump in countless debates, business deals, on the global stage, always with a comeback, always with a retort, always ready to win the conversation. But now he was just thinking. X wasn't watching the ocean. He wasn't even looking at Musk. He was watching Trump. "You don't know if it's enough," X finally said, breaking the quiet. Trump exhaled sharply through his nose, glancing at the table. "I don't like losing, and I don't like being forgotten." Musk smirked slightly. "You won't be forgotten." Trump's expression remained unreadable. X tilted his head. "Is that why you fight so much?" Trump's gaze snapped back up to him. X continued, "Because if you stop fighting, you feel like you'll disappear?" Musk arched an eyebrow. Trump studied the boy for a moment, his finger tapping lightly against the wooden surface. Then, with a dry chuckle, he muttered, "You ask a lot of damn good questions for a kid." X shrugged. "Someone has to." Trump let out a breath, sitting back. He glanced at Musk. "He get this from you?" Musk smiled faintly. "Partially." Then after a pause he added, "Partially not." Trump smirked. "That's an interesting way to say you don't have all the answers." Musk chuckled. "Nobody does." X leaned forward slightly. "But you never answered my question." Trump's smile faded just a bit. "Which one?" X didn't hesitate. "What are you afraid of?" Silence. Musk sat up slightly, genuinely curious now. He wanted to hear the answer too. Trump tapped his fingers against the table, his signature move when he was thinking. He could have dodged the question, turned it into a joke, dismissed it, brushed it off like he had done 1,000 times before. But for some reason he didn't. Instead he let the words sit there. Then softly he said, "Becoming small." Musk blinked. X furrowed his brow. "What do you mean?" Trump exhaled slowly, not looking at either of them as he answered. "I've built. I've fought. I've been on the biggest stage in the world." His voice was measured, steady. "When you've done that, you know what the worst thing is?" X waited. Trump finally looked up, feeling like none of it mattered. Musk exhaled, rubbing his jaw. He understood that feeling. He had spent his life building impossible things, pushing humanity forward, making history. But deep down in the quiet moments he had wondered the same thing. Would it matter in the end? Would the world actually change? X's face remained unreadable as he let the words settle. After a long pause he said, Then maybe you're asking the wrong question. Trump raised an eyebrow. What? X leaned forward slightly. Instead of asking if the world will remember you, why not ask if the people closest to you will? Trump went still. Musk narrowed his eyes, watching. X continued, because the world is big. The world forgets things fast. But the people who know you best? They remember who you really were. Trump's fingers ceased their rhythmic tapping. X's voice softened just a hair, but the impact was undeniable. And if they don't remember you the way you want? He asked, his words hanging in the air. Maybe that's the part that really scares you. For the first time that evening, Trump was silent. Musk glanced at him, noting the subtle shift in his expression. Then X leaned back, folded his arms and gave a slight, knowing smile. Checkmate. Musk burst out laughing, unable to contain himself. Trump blinked, caught off guard. After a moment he chuckled too, not the loud, brash laugh he used at rallies, nor the smug chuckle he gave during interviews. This one was real. Genuine. He shook his head, still laughing. Kid, I gotta admit, I didn't see that one coming. X grinned. That's the best kind of checkmate. Musk smirked. Now you know what it feels like. Trump let out a breath, shaking his head. You really raising a chess master here? Musk shrugged. I just let him think. Trump's smile lingered for a moment, but then he exhaled and turned his gaze back to the ocean. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't thinking about winning. He was just thinking. As the waves crashed against the shore, something shifted. Even though the world would always be watching Donald Trump for the first time in years, he wondered if he had been watching it the wrong way. The waves continued their relentless rhythm, the crashing sound filling the silence at the table. The laughter had faded, but something lingered, something unspoken, something neither man had expected to feel. Trump leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. He wasn't used to moments like this, real moments. Most conversations in his life were battles of influence, dominance, and perception. But this was different. Musk could feel it too. He had spent decades in boardrooms, outmaneuvering the brightest minds in the world, challenging conventional thought and winning. But his son had just done something neither he nor Trump had anticipated. He had changed the conversation. Trump glanced at X, a smirk still tugging at his lips. So, you play chess? X grinned. Every day. Trump nodded. Me too. Just a different kind. Musk chuckled. Yes, but you just lost this round. Trump scoffed, but it wasn't his usual dismissive wave. He liked this kid. He liked the way he thought, sharp, unpredictable, dangerous in the best way. Then X's expression shifted, more serious now, more deliberate. And suddenly, the balance of the conversation shifted again. I have another question, X said. Musk's smirk faded slightly. He knew that look. Trump raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Go on. X looked at Musk, then back at Trump, and slowly, almost hesitantly asked, What's the biggest mistake you ever made? The wind carried the question into the night. Musk inhaled deeply, rubbing his jaw. He could already feel where this was going. Trump, however, didn't react immediately. He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table, his gaze locked on X. What are you really asking? Trump asked, his voice cautious. X met his gaze unflinchingly. I'm asking if you ever walked away from someone you shouldn't have. Trump blinked. His jaw tightened slightly. This was different. This wasn't about losing a deal, about power or politics. This was personal. And for the first time, Trump didn't have an answer ready. The waves crashed. The wind carried the tension. Then, after what felt like forever, Trump exhaled through his nose. Yeah. X nodded. Who? Trump hesitated, his expression flickering just for a second. Then quietly he said, Someone I should have fought harder for. Musk sat up slightly. X waited, but Trump didn't elaborate. He simply leaned back in his chair, looking out at the ocean. He wasn't going to say who, and maybe that was the real answer. X didn't push. Instead he nodded. Sometimes the silence tells you everything. Trump let out a breath, shaking his head. All right, kid, you're better at this than some reporters I've dealt with. X smirked. They don't ask the right questions. Trump chuckled, clearly amused. Finally, Musk broke the tension. All right, I think we need drinks after that conversation. Trump grinned. You're not wrong. As the staff inside moved to prepare the drinks, the three of them sat there, Trump, Musk, and the boy who had just made them both think. For the first time that evening, nobody spoke. For the first time in a long time, both men had something to think about. The sky had darkened, the distant stars now speckling the horizon, as the ocean whispered against the cliffs below. The conversation had slowed, but its weight still hung in the air. Trump leaned back, his usual sharp bravado softened by something quieter, something heavier. Musk sipped his drink, his fingers idly tracing the rim of the glass. X had turned the tide of the conversation in a way neither man had expected. And now it was his turn. X turned toward his father, studying him. He had spent his entire life watching Musk command rooms filled with the brightest minds in the world, debating artificial intelligence, space colonization, and the future of civilization itself. But tonight, in this moment, X didn't care about any of that. He cared about the man. And so, just as he had done with Trump, he asked, "Dad, what's your biggest regret?" Musk's fingers froze against his glass. Trump sat up slightly, watching with intrigue. Musk wasn't the type to dwell on the past. He always looked forward, toward the next innovation, the next launch, the next problem to solve. But this wasn't about rockets or AI. This was about him. Musk exhaled through his nose. "That's a broad question." X tilted his head slightly. "So is yours." A small smirk tugged at Trump's lips. He liked this kid, sharp, relentless, just like him. Musk set his drink down, running a hand through his hair. He knew he had to answer. Avoiding it would only make X press harder. So he spoke, his voice quieter than before. "I think," Musk began slowly, "my biggest regret is how much I've missed." X blinked. "Missed?" Musk nodded, looking down at his hands. "I was so focused on building things, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, that I didn't realize how much I was losing in the process." X sat up straighter now, listening intently. Trump leaned in, slightly intrigued. "I miss birthdays. I missed first words. First steps. I missed moments that I'll never get back." X's face remained unreadable. Trump, however, understood exactly what Musk was saying, because he had lived it too. Musk exhaled, shaking his head. "I always told myself it was worth it, that I was doing something bigger than myself. That one day my kids would understand, that when they looked at Mars, at the future I helped build, they'd be proud." X was silent, his eyes steady. Musk turned to him, meeting his gaze. "But the truth is, X, I don't know if that was the right choice." X swallowed hard. "Would you do it differently?" Musk hesitated. Would he trade SpaceX for time? Would he trade Tesla for memories? He thought about the late nights in the factory, the hours spent debugging code, the years of sleeping on couches instead of being home. Then he thought about X's childhood. What had he missed? Musk's voice dropped lower. "I don't know." X nodded, as if he understood something that Musk himself wasn't ready to admit. Trump finally spoke, breaking the silence. "Let me tell you something about regrets." Musk and X both looked at him. Trump leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "You can spend your whole life thinking about what you should have done differently, about what you missed, about what you lost. But the truth is," he exhaled, "you can't change it. All you can do is decide what you're going to do now." Musk stared at him. X did too. The simplicity of it hit harder than either of them expected. Musk inhaled deeply. He knew this, of course. He had built his entire life on moving forward. But when it came to family, when it came to his own son sitting across from him, it didn't feel that simple. X broke the silence. "So, what are you going to do?" Musk blinked. "What?" X sat back. "You said you regret missing things. So what are you going to do about it?" Musk exhaled, rubbing his temple. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" X smirked. "Nope." Trump grinned. "I like this kid more and more." Musk chuckled under his breath. His son was relentless. And maybe that was a good thing. Musk leaned forward, locking eyes with X. "All right, you win," he said. "I'll take a step back. I'll make more time." X raised an eyebrow. "For real?" Musk nodded. "For real." X narrowed his eyes skeptically. "Promise?" Musk held out his hand. "Promise?" X shook it, then smirked. "You're going to have to delete some emails, you know?" Musk groaned. "Now you're pushing it." Trump laughed, shaking his head. "Kid's got you." Musk sighed dramatically. "Yeah, he does." And for the first time in a long time, he didn't mind. Because in that moment, Elon Musk realized something. The future wasn't just Mars. It was sitting right in front of him. Subscribe for more life-changing stories here on Hidden Raylit.